Let me tell you something I've learned after decades of studying success, achievement, and human potential. Most people quit right before their breakthrough. They stop when they are tired, discouraged, and uncertain, not realizing they may be just one step away from everything changing. I've seen this pattern again and again in business, in personal development, and in life. The moment when you feel like giving up is often the exact moment when success is closest. And today, I want to speak directly to you. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something very important. Have you ever been so close to quitting, so tired of trying, that you wondered if it's even worth continuing? If you've ever felt that way, I want you to type, "I will not give up," in the comments below. When you write it, you're making a small but powerful commitment to yourself. Now let's talk about something that almost nobody tells you. Success is not a straight line. When I first began studying successful people, I assumed they had some kind of special advantage. Maybe they were smarter, maybe luckier, maybe they had better connections. But the more I interviewed high achievers, entrepreneurs, leaders, and top performers, the more I realized something surprising. They struggled a lot. Many of them failed repeatedly before they succeeded. Some lost money, some faced rejection, some experienced years of slow progress. But there was one quality that separated them from everyone else. They simply refused to quit. I've spent thousands of hours researching this single idea, and the evidence is overwhelming. Persistence is the number one quality of high achievers in every field. Think about that for a moment. Not intelligence, not talent, not background, persistence. The ability to keep going when it's uncomfortable. The ability to keep going when progress seems slow. The ability to keep going when nobody else believes in you. Most people underestimate how close they are to success because they only see the difficulty of the present moment. They don't see what's building beneath the surface. Let me explain something important about progress. Success often works like water heating on a stove. At 10 degrees, the water looks the same as it did at 20 degrees. At 40 degrees, it still looks the same. At 70 degrees, nothing dramatic appears to be happening. But when it reaches 100 degrees, it begins to boil. Now here's the key insight. Every degree of heat before that moment was necessary. In the same way, every effort you make, every late night, every small improvement, every lesson learned from failure is building pressure beneath the surface. You might not see results yet, but the temperature is rising. One day, something shifts. And when that moment comes, people will say you were lucky. They'll say you succeeded quickly. They'll say it happened overnight. But you and I both know the truth. It didn't happen overnight. It happened after hundreds of small efforts that nobody saw. Now here's the danger most people face. Discouragement. Discouragement is the number one dream killer. Not failure, not lack of talent. Discouragement. Because discouragement makes you question your ability. It makes you question your goals. And eventually, it makes you question whether the journey is worth it. But let me tell you something I discovered after many years of coaching and teaching people around the world. Discouragement is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you're stretching beyond your comfort zone. Every worthwhile goal will challenge you. Every meaningful achievement will test your patience. And every big dream will require more persistence than you expect. That's not a flaw in the system. That is the system. In fact, difficulty serves a very important purpose. It filters out the people who are not serious. Most people start strong. They feel motivated. They feel inspired. They feel excited about their goals. But motivation fades. Reality appears. Challenges arise. And slowly, many people drift away from the path they once felt passionate about. But a small group of people does something different. They stay. They continue. They keep moving forward even when the excitement disappears. And eventually they reach a point where their persistence begins to compound. Let me share a truth that changed my life. Success is rarely about giant leaps. It's about small steps repeated consistently. Just one more call, just one more page written, just one more improvement, just one more day of discipline. Over time, these small actions create massive results. But there's another psychological challenge you must understand. The valley of disappointment. This is the stage where effort is high, but visible results are still low. Many people work hard for weeks or months and see little immediate progress. They begin to think their efforts aren't working. But what they don't realize is that progress is often invisible at first. Skills are developing. Confidence is growing. Experience is accumulating. Momentum is building. And suddenly, what once felt impossible starts becoming manageable. This is why I always tell people something very simple. Never quit on a bad day, because bad days distort your thinking. On a bad day, problems feel bigger than they really are. Obstacles look permanent even though they're temporary. And your mind tries to convince you that stopping will relieve the pressure. But quitting doesn't remove the pressure. It only replaces the pressure of effort with the regret of lost potential. And regret is far heavier than effort. I've met many people in my lifetime who regretted quitting too soon, but I have never met a single person who regretted persisting through difficulty to achieve something meaningful. So if you're feeling tired right now, if you're feeling discouraged, if you're wondering whether all your effort is worth it, I want you to remember something powerful. You might be closer than you think. In fact, some of the greatest breakthroughs in life happen immediately after the moment when people feel like giving up. And that is exactly why persistence matters so much, because the person who refuses to quit often becomes the person who eventually succeeds. Now, let me ask you something honestly. What goal in your life right now feels hardest to continue pursuing? Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's building a business. Maybe it's improving your skills. Maybe it's becoming the person you know you're capable of becoming. Whatever it is, I want you to understand something very clearly. Progress is happening even if you cannot see it yet. The work you're doing today is shaping the results you'll experience tomorrow. And every time you choose to continue instead of quitting, you strengthen one of the most valuable traits a human being can possess: resilience. Resilience is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Every challenge you overcome makes you mentally tougher. Every setback you push through increases your confidence. And every obstacle you solve prepares you for larger opportunities ahead. So when you feel like stopping, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. And remind yourself of a simple truth. You didn't come this far just to come this far. Your story isn't finished yet. And sometimes the greatest success stories are written in the chapters where people almost gave up, but decided to continue anyway. And in the next part, I'm going to show you something extremely powerful. I'm going to explain why the moment you feel like quitting is often the exact moment when your breakthrough is forming, and how you can push through that moment when most people walk away. Let me continue with something extremely important that I want you to understand. There is a moment in every worthwhile journey when the mind begins to fight against the goal. I've experienced this myself many times, and I've seen it happen to thousands of people I've worked with. At the beginning, everything feels exciting. You're energized by the vision. You imagine the success, the freedom, the achievement. Your motivation is high because the goal is new and inspiring. But then reality begins to set in. The work becomes repetitive. The progress feels slow. The obstacles appear larger than expected. And suddenly, the mind begins whispering something dangerous. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should stop. Now, I want you to understand something very clearly. That voice is not the truth. That voice is simply your comfort zone trying to protect itself. Your brain is designed to keep you safe and comfortable, not necessarily successful. Whenever you try to grow, to improve, or to pursue something bigger than your current situation, your mind naturally creates resistance. That resistance often appears in the form of doubt. And doubt can feel incredibly convincing. But here's something I've discovered after years of studying successful people. High achievers are not people without doubt. They are people who move forward despite doubt. They understand that uncertainty is part of the process. Think about it this way. If success were guaranteed from the beginning, everyone would pursue their dreams with confidence. But that's not how life works. The uncertainty is what separates the persistent from the passive. And the people who learn to move forward despite uncertainty are the ones who eventually achieve extraordinary results. Let me give you an important principle that I teach everywhere in the world. Your greatest breakthroughs usually occur right after your greatest tests. When things feel hardest, when progress seems slowest, when frustration feels highest, that's often the exact point where many people turn around. But those who continue discover something powerful. Momentum. Momentum is one of the most underestimated forces in success. At first, progress feels heavy like pushing a large wheel that barely moves. But every push makes the wheel slightly easier to move. Eventually, something shifts. The wheel starts turning faster. Your skills improve. Your confidence increases. Opportunities begin appearing that were invisible before. And suddenly, the same effort that once produced small results begins producing larger results. But there's a catch. Momentum only exists for people who keep pushing. The moment you stop, the wheel slows down. This is why persistence is so powerful. Now I want you to think about something important. Imagine planting a seed in the ground. For days, maybe weeks, you see nothing. If you didn't understand how nature works, you might think nothing is happening. You might assume the seed has failed. But beneath the soil, something incredible is taking place. Roots are forming. Strength is developing. Life is preparing to break through the surface. Your goals work the same way. There is a period where the effort is invisible, where progress is internal rather than external. During that period, many people lose patience. But patience combined with persistence creates powerful results. I remember early in my career when I was working incredibly hard to build my skills and reputation. There were times when progress seemed painfully slow. I would study, practice, read, learn, and work long hours. And sometimes I wondered if all that effort would really lead somewhere. But I kept going. And then something interesting happened. Gradually, opportunities started appearing. People began inviting me to speak. Businesses wanted training programs. My ideas started reaching more and more people. What looked like sudden success from the outside was actually the result of years of preparation. That's another truth most people overlook. Success is rarely sudden. It's accumulated. Every hour of effort adds another small layer of growth. Over time, those layers become a foundation that supports larger achievements. But there's another challenge that appears right before many breakthroughs: fatigue. When you've been working towards something for a long time, the mind becomes tired. The initial excitement fades and discipline becomes the main driver. This is where character begins to matter, because discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. When motivation fades, discipline keeps you moving. When excitement disappears, discipline maintains progress. And the people who master discipline eventually discover something powerful. Consistency beats intensity. Many people work extremely hard for short periods of time. They push themselves intensely for a few days or weeks, but when results don't appear immediately, they slow down or stop. But successful people do something different. They focus on steady progress, little every day, one improvement at a time, one lesson learned from each challenge. Over time, that steady effort becomes unstoppable. Let me share a question that I often ask people. What if the obstacle you're facing right now is actually preparing you for the success you want? Think about that carefully. Every skill you develop through struggle becomes an advantage later. Every problem you solve increases your capability. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your confidence. In other words, difficulty is often training in disguise. The person you must become in order to achieve your goals is being shaped by the challenges you face along the way. If success arrived instantly, most people wouldn't be prepared to handle it. Growth builds the capacity required for achievement. That's why persistence matters so much, because persistence allows the transformation to occur. You start the journey as one version of yourself, but the process gradually turns you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable. Now here's something fascinating. When you look at the lives of highly successful people, you'll often discover a moment when everything almost ended. A moment when quitting seemed like the logical decision. A moment when continuing required courage. And yet, that moment often became the turning point. Because choosing to continue when everything feels difficult changes something inside you. It strengthens belief. It builds self-respect. It proves to you that you are capable of more than you previously thought. And once you experience that realization, your mindset shifts. You begin to see obstacles differently. Instead of seeing them as stop signs, you start seeing them as tests of commitment. Let me ask you something directly. If you knew with absolute certainty that your success was only 1 year away, would you quit today? Of course not. You would continue with determination. You would push through every difficulty because you would know the reward was coming. But here's the interesting truth. Many people who eventually succeed were probably much closer to their breakthrough than they realized. The difference is that they kept moving long enough to reach it. Now imagine how many people were also close, but stopped just before that turning point. This is why I always encourage people to extend their timeline. Don't expect massive success overnight. Expect progress. Expect improvement. Expect growth. When you focus on becoming better every day rather than achieving instant results, persistence becomes much easier, and persistence changes everything. Because time works in favor of the person who refuses to quit. Every month of effort multiplies your experience. Every year of consistent action expands your opportunities. Eventually, what once felt difficult becomes natural. What once seemed impossible becomes achievable. And the path that once looked uncertain becomes clearer with each step. So if you're feeling discouraged today, remember this. You might be standing in the final mile of a very long race. And many people abandon the race in that final mile simply because they can't yet see the finish line. But those who keep running eventually cross it. And in the final part of this message, I'm going to share one of the most powerful mental shifts you can make. A way of thinking that will help you stay persistent even when everything around you seems to be telling you to stop. Now let me share with you one of the most powerful mental shifts you can ever make if you want to achieve something meaningful in your life. It's the difference between wishing and deciding. Most people wish for success. They hope things will improve. They dream about a better future. But hope without decision is fragile. The moment difficulty appears, hope fades. But a decision is different. A real decision means you have eliminated the option of quitting. When you truly decide that something is going to happen in your life, your mindset changes completely. Obstacles no longer become reasons to stop. They become problems to solve. I learned this lesson early in my career. There were moments when the road seemed uncertain. I faced rejection, setbacks, and situations where progress felt painfully slow. But I made a simple commitment to myself. I would keep improving and keep moving forward, no matter how long it took. And that single decision changed everything. Because once quitting was no longer an option, my mind focused only on solutions. Let me ask you something important. Have you truly decided that your goal will happen, or are you still hoping it might happen? The difference is enormous. When you decide, your brain begins working in a completely different way. You start noticing opportunities that you ignored before. You begin learning faster. You become more resilient in the face of setbacks. In psychology, this is sometimes called commitment bias. Once we commit to something deeply, our mind organizes our behavior around making it real. And commitment creates persistence. Now here's another truth that will help you push through difficult moments. Future self is watching you. Think about that for a moment. 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, there will be a version of you looking back at this exact moment in time. And that future version of you will either feel gratitude or regret. Gratitude because you kept going, or regret because you stopped too soon. I have met many people later in life who said something very similar to me. They didn't regret the hard work they invested in their goals. What they regretted were the opportunities they abandoned because they doubted themselves, and doubt can be extremely convincing. But doubt is not evidence, it's simply emotion. Your mind produces thousands of thoughts every single day, and not all of them deserve your belief. Successful people learn to question their doubts instead of obeying them. When doubt says, "This is too hard," they ask, "What is the next step?" When doubt says, "Maybe this won't work," they ask, "What can I improve?" This simple shift keeps them moving forward. Action is one of the most powerful antidotes to discouragement. When you take action, even small action, you regain a sense of control. You remind yourself that progress is still possible, and progress creates energy. One small win leads to another. Confidence grows gradually. Momentum builds quietly. Eventually, what once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. And that's when something incredible happens. Your identity begins to change. You no longer see yourself as someone trying to succeed. You start seeing yourself as someone who persists, someone who adapts, someone who keeps going. And that identity is incredibly powerful. Because when persistence becomes part of who you are, quitting becomes almost impossible. Let me share a simple principle that has helped countless people achieve their goals. Focus on finishing the day strong, not the year, not the decade, just the day. Ask yourself one question each morning. What is the most important action I can take today to move closer to my goal? Then focus on completing that action. When you repeat that process day after day, something remarkable happens. Your goals begin to move closer to you. And the reason is simple. Great achievements are built through daily discipline. Not occasional bursts of effort. Not sudden motivation. Daily discipline. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine that 6 months from today, your life begins to shift in the direction you've been hoping for. Your efforts start producing results. Your confidence grows. Your opportunities expand. And you realize that the moment when you almost quit was actually the moment that mattered the most. That moment tested your commitment. It asked you a simple question. Do you want this enough to continue? And by continuing, you answered yes. Every successful person eventually faces that moment. The difference is that they stay in the game long enough for success to arrive. So if you are feeling tired today, if the journey feels longer than expected, if progress seems slower than you hoped, let me remind you of something very important. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going. Progress is rarely dramatic. Most of the time, it's quiet and gradual. It happens through effort that nobody applauds and discipline that nobody sees. But those quiet efforts create extraordinary outcomes over time. And the truth is, you may be standing closer to your breakthrough than you realize. So don't measure your progress only by visible results. Measure it by the person you are becoming. More disciplined, more resilient, more focused, more determined. That transformation is already proof that your efforts are working. And when persistence combines with growth, success eventually becomes inevitable. Before I finish, I want to ask you to do something simple but powerful. If this message resonates with you, if you are committed to continuing your journey no matter how difficult it becomes, I want you to write something in the comments. Type these words, I am not quitting. When you write it, you're not just telling me, you're telling yourself. You're reinforcing a decision that could change the direction of your life. Because the people who eventually succeed are not always the smartest, the luckiest, or the most talented. They are often simply the ones who stayed on the path long enough. So remember this whenever you feel like stopping. Don't give up now. You might be about to make it.